Welcome to Glenn Rogers and Split Personality. This is the very first podcast that I'm going to do, and you know, you never know where to start, what to start, when to start, that type of stuff. So, welcome to my basement next to the utility room. Got my furnace going. Hopefully, you can hear me okay. I'm not testing everything because honestly, I'm not even sure I'm going to post this. This is just an itch I needed to scratch. It was one of these things that I feel like I can possibly help people out there or give advice or whatever. But, it's one of those other talking heads, like the news media and things like that, that I don't want to dive into a lot of the stuff they dive into. I just want to deal with something more for my kids and leave a legacy for my kids. And that's basically why I want to do this. My goal is to form something like in Superman 2, super nerdy. I'm a little Gen X. Superman 2, I think it was, or Superman 1, I'm sorry, with Christopher Reeves, where he talks to his dad with the crystals, at his Fortress of Solitude. So I'm going to create something with 11 Labs and whoever does it in the future type of stuff where I am a chatbot, basically, but my kids can come to me in the future and listen to dad with advice or with whatever. So I have young kids right now, and they look at me like I know everything, right? So um, they look at you with such amazement and just, you're always right. Um, what you say goes type of stuff. They're defiant as all heck, and stuff like that. They're kids, but it is amazing when you look at it and view it from a child's eyes. And guess what? We don't all have the answers, and we do shoot from the hip a lot, or are nervous as hell. Like right now, I'm sitting there with busy work behind me, do my books on the weekends, get up at 3 a.m., do the stuff for the business and stuff. I have to do my wife's receipts and books because she organizes those very well. Um, but I do all the business stuff, and then I was sitting there like, well, I got to try to, my internet's not down or working. So I was fiddling with that, and I'm like, I can still record. It's just a phone. I can still record something. It's not going to be the best because this is pretty much all I've planned. Shooting from the hip again. But I'm nervous. It's like, do I put this out there? I don't even know if I'm going to put it out there. So who cares? This is kind of what I'm doing. But one thing that I want to talk about, and I think it's my theme, I think it's my theme of the whole podcast, is going to be discipline. And is discipline earned, learned, given, that type of thing. And I think it has to be a passion from within. What drives you? And like, what is your purpose? Your biggest why? We've been part of, my wife and I have been part of different direct sales companies and stuff like that throughout the years, and basically stick to always one. And um, it's been awesome because the same theme for successful people always comes down to finding your passion and finding your why. Why are you doing something? I learned this young as a farm kid, helping my uncle on the farm growing up, with seeing him work so hard, and just the results of it. Like, the cows do not milk themselves, so your why is you got to get your butt up every single day, 4 a.m., got to go milk the cows. Even if you're partying at night, you got to go do so. It's your why that becomes your passion. With working out, um, training and stuff like that, my why, a lot of people don't like to work out, and if you're in that 1% club that loves working out and stays healthy and fit, that's great. um, because that's kind of where I'm at. Like, it's a passion of mine, because my why at first was all driven by aesthetics and not getting picked on and insecurity issues. When I was young, my brother called me uncoordinated because I was playing basketball in fifth grade and stuff like that. And I can't run. I wasn't the fastest. I was the kid that played tag on the playground because I didn't want to play kickball and basketball with the other kids because I just didn't know the rules and stuff like that. So I just played tag because I loved it. Just running around, jumping, doing a bunch of idiot things like boys do on the playground. And I see a lot of that in my son. He doesn't know much about. He's only 6, but he doesn't know much about rules, mechanics. I don't care about that stuff. He just goes out there and whips a baseball bat and has fun, and he loves playing tag and loves playing with the girls and all this stuff. So it's with his sisters. I mean, but it's great, So that's kind of like me. Just get out there and be an athlete without like the confounds of all the rules and all that type of stuff. Just move. But it started with insecurity with me. And so because I was uncoordinated, as my brother picked on me and stuff like that, I wanted to start hitting weights. And I read my first Muscle and Fitness magazine, and it said, gaining muscle will help increase strength and coordination. And I was hooked right there. So I started when I was young, started lifting weights, and that transpired into gaining muscle and feeling more confident with myself. But I always thought, that I can never talk to girls. It's the curse of, I think, boys growing up and adolescence and stuff. So I started working out thinking the girls would just flock to me. That didn't actually happen, but I fell in love with it and working out and how I felt. So that why at first it evolves over time. It became a passion of getting coordinated, being better at sports, and then turning into just doing it for myself. So that is the discipline aspect of finding your why. I am in my basement, like I said earlier, because I have no office space. And, because I have little kids and the office space upstairs is basically a disastrous toy room. So that being said, my why for writing a couple books is, for other people to learn and stuff like that. It's all in discipline and what I've done for a bodybuilding show and dieting and 12 weeks of that process for that, going through the show and try to help other people. But it's more for proving it to myself that I can get my butt up early on the weekends, help other people with goals and things like that. And also for my kids. Everything I'm doing pretty much now is for my kids. But and also obviously for myself, selfishly, right? But I've been a trainer now for 25 years. Ever since my last semester of college, I helped coach the football team I played for up at UW Eau Claire, and learned so much. Obviously there, and then kind of did that passion route following that because I didn't know what to do, right? So I did my internship at University of Arizona, and then got up to North Dakota State University and did graduate school there. And that was such a turning point in my life because it was that transition from North Dakota State not being very good, Division II. They were like 1-9 that year, I think, with 9 ACL injuries. It was just kind of a crap show, but I learned so much from the coach. He did it more old school, like the pride buckets that were the puke buckets and stuff. So kids just drilled hard so they threw up and stuff and just ran to ram. And then the new coach came in and brought in Coach Kramer. And he was so much more meticulous on all the athletes that if you're injured, your knee hurts, you're going to do this. You're not just going to ride a bike with no seat because you're injured, right? Like a penalty. So he's like, let's try to get rid of these injuries and try to get you back to healthy and stuff like that. And with Coach Bull coming at North Dakota State, I mean, they completely flipped that program around. And then they won like 10 years in a row or something like that. And it's ridiculous. But so I was there for the 2 years during that transition. So I learned so much from there. And then after that, I came back down to the Wisconsin area and Milwaukee area and started personal training one-on-ones with clients. And that's where I really fell into passion of just talking to people and getting to know their why, about why they work out. When you have 7-year-old gals in there that are, you're like, I hate to work out. but they know the importance of it, right? Because look at the studies. I remember Glassman, the creator of CrossFit, he was on a interview, 60-minute interview, when a woman questioned him about deadlifts, and she's like, "Do you think it's safe for a 7-year-old to be deadlifting?" And he's like, "Yes, they have to pick up groceries, they have to do this." I'm just paraphrasing, but do you know the statistics? He said is like 3 years of life left after you fall down and break a hip after age 70 or something like that. It's like ridiculously low, and obviously the further decade that you get, months, I think. Look it up. I'm pretty certain, but I'm just guessing. But it's super interesting to me where she found that passion to be like, hey, I need to at least do this because it sucks, but I got to do it, right? Because the alternative. And I'm sorry, but everybody's going to the alternative one day, and it's like, let's make the best of it as we can. Um, so that's where I just really fell in love with talking with people in the one-on-one situation. And then I had an opportunity to get back into training athletes again. And I started my own gym soon after that. So I've been at my own gym now for almost 20 years. And what's pretty cool is a couple weeks ago, I was looking at my list of all my clients. And session-based wise, I've had over 91,000 clients coming through my gym. 91,000 sessions. 91,000 sessions, so over 2,000 clients coming through my gym the last 20 years, which will probably make me an expert on training and strength training. But I don't look at it as an expert of like I could figure anything out and I know exactly what's going on. Yeah, a lot of times I can look and see exactly probably what's going on and stuff. But people are so unique with pain tolerances and all that fun stuff we get to deal with, right? Where it's like a shoulder pain to me with a click is not a big deal. It's been there for a while, but for somebody else, it's like life and death. But speaking of that, if you have a shoulder click, raising your shoulders and stuff like that, I have a cure for that because mine clicked all the time for 15, 20 years and then I got rid of it. So it's pretty impressive. But I'll pat myself on the back. But it's just fun training the kids and training adults. And that's kind of where my why went into passion and discipline, was because once I started feeling good in high school, looking good, things like that, now it was kind of your identity. This is where it's kind of get that shift of identity, where I think a lot of people get caught up in maybe wrong identities or what they want to perceive themselves as. And I think of it like Joe Rogan, because he's obviously a famous podcaster and he has no hair, he's bald, right? And it's funny because I was watching, my nephew is 24 years old, and I was watching an old Fear Factor episode. And my nephew's like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "That's Joe Rogan." And he's like, "Wait, he had hair?" So it's one of those things where it's like, obviously his hair wasn't his identity, but as you see, you get thinner as you get older, you kind of start losing that identity of like, oh crap, what can I do to help make this thing grow again? So I think I'm going to bring the toupee back eventually, but as a side point. But my second book on discipline and stuff like that deals with identity. And one of the guys I have helping me train this year, Sam, is a big part of that book, because he was a baseball kid forever and stuff. And then he realized he was fast as hell. And now he's 2 years into college and he's a 4-time All-American, runs a 10-4-100. So it's pretty good for a D3 athlete, and it's kind of fun because you can't bank on your identity right away from like high school, and that's, I guess, my identity in high school was, the workout jock and stuff like that. And all you do is think about girls at that time. And then college, it was like, think of the movie Animal House. And if you've never seen it, that was me, the little uncontrolled guy that I have way too many people to thank for keeping me safe. And then it was trying to find myself. And maybe you're in that spot right now, just trying to find yourself. Not sure where to go, or whatnot, but you need to follow a why. You need to have that passion, which will cultivate from that why. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Like for me, for podcasting, the hell am I doing? Um, Again, it's for my kids, right? But it's also maybe to find that passion in helping somebody, because I tell people, I feel like I want to do this podcast because a lot of younger kids that I've trained and train are kind of lost, or not so much lost. They're pushed into sports. They're pushed into a certain way where when it comes down to it, you kind of want to develop that discipline, but you just want to have fun, right? And enjoy life and stuff like that, not get so caught up in things. But you also have to have that purpose of becoming better, becoming a better person. And that's where I love the aspect of working out and getting up early, um, to set that goal up for the day or for whatever. It just becomes a habit over time. But you just want to keep working towards that why, and having a lot of coffee. So what's on your agenda for this week? What is going to be your why? I started 6 years ago waking up at 2:45 a.m. And the why was because we had twins, and 18 months after our firstborn. So our firstborn was finally sleeping through the night till 6, 7, whatever they do, and then our twins though would get up obviously in the middle of the night at 3:04. And why I say 3:04 is because that's usually the time you heard somebody crying, like an all-out wail, and then my wife lumbers out of bed and banging stuff around to get the formula and the milk or whatever she's doing in the kitchen. Basically, is the alarm clock. She's the alarm clock now, so I'm up, and I usually get up at 3:30, 4 o'clock to get to the gym because I work out before my clients come by 5, just so I'm done for the day. And I, women, you guys, you do it all. You are amazing. So I'm just going to say that. My mom was absolutely amazing. My grandmother, absolutely amazing. She's still with us at 94. Absolutely amazing. And you don't get enough credit. And I know I'm sorry, but I don't say thank you enough and this and that. But my wife does know that I do love her. And we just have to keep reminding that stuff. Because women are a different animal. But I started waking up because I'm like, you know what? She gets her butt up and the kids are wailing, and I'm not going to sit there and sleep an extra 20 minutes, 30 minutes. What's it going to do better for me, right? And you can pull up every sleep study you want. And I'm going to counterbalance that with the truth. But so I started getting up at 2:45, and then I would make the formula, get it ready to rock. So as soon as I heard even a squeak in that bedroom, I would jump in there, put both bottles in there, because as one twin wakes up, you should wake the other one up just so they're feeding at the same time, so they get on the same schedule, and then go back to bed. Boom, they were done. So then I would go back and work out and get a great hour and a half workout then, because I was there so early. I'm like, dang, what do I do now? So then I'd get a great workout in. But that's why I started getting up at 2:45, and I've kept with it during the week all the time. And then on the weekends I'd sleep in, but you're sleeping in until 5. So my theory is, and my saying has always been, if you're going to get up at 5 and you're tired, why not get up at 4? You're going to be the same tired, right? And then all the sleep people will come out and be like, oh, you need enough sleep. You need enough sleep. So here's my rebuttal to that. How good is your sleep? Think about that. How good is your sleep? Do you need a glass of wine each night? Do you eat before bed? I do, but it's light. Do you have any type of, are you overweight? Like, do you have food stuff going on? Basically, are you fat? Um, that type of stuff where your body, when you go to bed, has to work so hard to bring that inflammation down. And if you're not within an ideal weight and have muscle for your metabolism, I'm sorry, but you have a lot of inflammation, so your sleep will be crap. Okay? So is it better to get 8 hours of sleep, of restlessness, awake time, um, and non-quality than it is to get 5 hours of rock solid, never wake up, stone dead sleep? This is a question because I don't know the answer. Well, I do because it's fine. But just kidding, that's me being arrogant. But I look at my little watch here and I do the little sleep metrics and stuff like that. And when you first get it, you go all crazy, kind of like an iPhone, right? You're all over it the first few weeks and stuff like that, and then you just never see it again. So it was a waste of money. But I like the sleep stuff because my average is usually 5.5 hours of sleep or 6 hours of sleep, but it's always 2 hours, almost minimum, every night of deep sleep. And like usually 0 to 20 minutes of REM, so I'll probably have Alzheimer's. That's again why I gotta record this podcast because I probably will die of Alzheimer's or get dementia and stuff. Because that's what they say, you need REM sleep to help combat that. But my 2 hours of deep sleep, not much REM sleep, light sleep is whatever, 2 hours, and my restlessness is usually almost always zero, almost always. So is it quality or is it quantity, right? What would you rather have? I'd rather have quality for sure. Fight that getting up in the morning because I've always said that, you're getting up at 5 or 6 a.m., you're still freaking tired. You don't want to get out of bed. And then 3 o'clock, it's pretty much the same thing. Just get out of bed. Just turn around, put your feet on the ground, start walking to the bathroom, get going. But the productivity was immense. So during the week, I did that from when my kids were born. Boom, 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 5 years. 2 years ago, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get back on the bodybuilding stage. I'm going to focus on emailing, and then I'm going to kind of cultivate that into a book. So I did that. But I decided to wake up on the weekends to do it because I want to spend time with my kids and be the family man that should be there for your kids. I want to play with them. I want to teach them. I want to do fun stuff, go to a cabin, go whatever, do things on the weekends with my kids. So get my butt up early instead of sit there on a computer. And I got up still 2:45, just like today, on the weekends. And then I started hammering away. I would email everybody on my list, like 10, 11 people, close friends and stuff like that, email them a list of what I was doing that week for bodybuilding preparation and things like that, send it off. And then on Sunday, I would edit it if I needed to and stuff. I'm sorry, not send it off Saturday. So I'd edit it then on Sunday, then send it off. And then that became a chapter of my book. So it just followed along in a 12-week diet, 12-week chapters. And it's my one buddy was super happy with it because he even felt it was almost like a 12-step program, right? Where it's not an easy 12 weeks of dieting. You have your ups and downs. You have to look at each day and each week as another day, right? So it gets easier as you do it, but uh, um, but food is an addiction, right? That's probably one of the biggest addictions, um, and I'm sure it kills. The stat I just thought in my head and made up, I'm sure it kills way more people than just drugs alone because look at how many obese people there are. Thank God for GLP-1s and people should be getting skinny again, but um, there are a ton of obese people that probably need that direction of a 12-step program and have a better feeling with food. But that's where I started writing my books on the weekends in the 245s, and now with AI and Claude, ChatGPT, all these different agents that can help you writing code, things like that. I have a huge passion of code writing and that stuff because I taught myself Excel. I absolutely love Excel. I'm a nerd for it, and because I can't do numbers like with a calculator, but I can do numbers on a spreadsheet and all that stuff, and I love it because it can add and subtract for me. Because apparently I'm dyslexic with numbers with that, but I love coding now on the weekends and during the week when I have a free time and stuff like that. So I'm going to develop apps and stuff for kids and for productivity stuff. And it's just fun. So I get to have that time to myself at that 2:45. So that why has developed into another discipline and passion. So a lot of times we're here looking out from the outside looking in. We're on the outside looking in at other people about, well, how come he has the $1 million house and she has the McLaren and the Ferrari and stuff like that. So we're always looking at other people about their success, but we don't see what it took for them to get there, right? And they could be part of the lucky sperm club, daddy and mommy's money, and then they like to hoard it because they don't know how to make their own, or they actually busted their butt and made their own, and are paving their way for their kids and stuff. So we can't look at from the outside looking in and be like, oh, they have it made, because we don't know their walk. So unless you walk in their shoes, we have really no clue. So I've been doing a lot of different things, I guess. A lot of different passions. And one of them is making music too on Suno. And if you've never used Suno app, or everybody's like, oh, it's AI, I started using it and I'm like, this is probably the best thing that's out there, because I was not gifted with a voice. I was not gifted with like carrying a tune, I should say, for a voice. Um, and I would love to play an instrument and stuff like that. But again, it's something that's completely time sensitive and you need to practice, just like working out and podcasting and doing anything, right? It takes time. So AI has really given people like me a voice to, like, I've always wanted to do this type of thing. And the biggest driver actually was because my grandmother always she thinks the world of all the grandkids usually, right? So she's like, oh, you'd be a good singer, you'd be a good dancer, that type of stuff, right? So I've always wanted to write a song for my grandmother and play it and guitar and stuff. But I'm not going to. And I did make a song though about our family and her and growing up and my grandpa and the old gray truck and the blue truck and the GMC and stuff. So it's such a fun, great app, and the world of AI has really unlocked a lot of those things and tools, which is amazing. So if you haven't tried um, some of those things, I'd highly recommend it. Get on ChatGPT, get on Claude, and ChatGPT is probably better for that because Claude is more for the programming stuff. But um, just write your story out a little bit and then tell ChatGPT to summarize it and say, put it in a song for Suno, and go on Suno. Maybe they have a free one. I pay for it because I like the music so much. And you can actually find it on my website, a lot of my songs, because it doesn't have all the swearing, the vulgarity, and it's your story. It's got a great beat. My music is all on discipline, effort, um, like martial arts, Zen, um, music, country, hard rock. I pretty much listen to everything, rap, that some crunk, all that stuff. So I like doing all that to hear your story come through words and lyrically through music, which is amazing. Um, See, this is why I like setting up for a podcast, because This is an itch I needed to scratch. I don't know if I want to do this. I would like to interview people. That'll be a good one. Because you have something to talk about. And as a matter of fact, I think that should be the next thing to talk about is interviewing my buddy, which I did do, but again, I was just too scared to put it out there, put it out to the universe. And I need to show my kids and show other people that there may be other people like me, right? That have an interest in everything and kind of just wading the waters, wading through life and trying to figure it out with kids, with all this stuff. Let's go to my first caller because I don't know what else to talk about, honestly. Oh crap! So I don't have the internet, right? Oh, it showed up. Never mind. I have the internet, so it worked again. So I'm not going to just sit here and sell stuff, but I developed an app and it's going to ask me a question and I'm going to answer it. So let's think about this right now because this is actually for my legacy, for my kids. Oh my God, I'm 47. I can't see. What did you like to grow in your garden? Oh, that's a lame question. Let's see. What did you like to grow in your garden? Oh, actually, because this will be great for the kids, right? So who's sharing? Me. I'm sharing this story. And then instead of typing it, let's record the memory. Allow. The main thing I like to grow in the garden ever since I lived on Aspen Drive in Waukesha was tomatoes, because that was the only thing that grew in the garden. Because I tried pumpkins, which I don't even know, that didn't happen, and strawberries, which no, and then cucumbers, which I got way too many cucumbers, where we had like wheelbarrow loads of cucumbers. Not doing those again, way too many. And what I grow now are pretty much tomatoes because my kids just pick them off like candy and they just eat them every day, which is great. And we've actually made salsa before and stuff like that. But the biggest thing is my grandmother had a garden, probably, gosh, that was huge. It was huge. It was probably, we needed a corn planter for eight rows of sweet corn that she had, and then she had gooseberries, strawberry patch, tomatoes. My brother and I would actually get in trouble because when we were little, we would pretend it was like blood. So we would throw tomatoes at each other like a bullet, right? And then pretend it was blood when it hit us. So she got so mad because we wasted so many tomatoes. And then we would just sit and eat all our gooseberries. So then she didn't have any gooseberries. So it reminds me of my kids right now. I come out there with my little pail of to collect tomatoes, and there's no tomatoes left because they eat them all, which is fun and amazing. And they haven't discovered yet that throwing them creates blood because they're not the big ones, they're just the cherry tomatoes, so they're small. So I guess I do a lot of tomatoes, and I tried the other things, but I'm not good at canning. Like I said, we made salsa one time, and I remember my grandmother with all the corn, all that stuff. I always helped her can, helped her do all that stuff. I have no clue how to do that, right? So it doesn't look that hard. You boil some water, seal it, put it in there, and it does something to seal it. I can YouTube it. It's amazing, all the technology we have now in today's day and age. But we just stick with tomatoes because it's easy. And this year we actually did sunflowers. So the twins are 6, Brooklyn is 7, and we did sunflowers for this year in 2026, and the kids love them. And the garden, we actually have squash. I thought it was cucumbers at first, and I'm like, oh no, here we go again. But it is actually squash. So we have to try that out today, probably on the grill. But that's pretty much what we grow in the garden. Okay, then I'm going to stop recording. And then what this app does that I'm developing here is it's going to transcribe it, saving it in memory, and then you just have to um, edit it. Make sure it's the right words and things like that, so it doesn't say something random. And usually I find it says the random stuff with names, like a person's name, right? So if you have a hard to pronounce name, it'll just make something up via text. So then you just got to look at it. So what you see here is the text, memory saved, and that's a lot of text. I can't look at that. I can barely see it. So what happens when you're 47? So the memory is saved. Blah blah blah. I'm gonna go. Nope. Stop. To come on. Why doesn't it scroll? Another app error, I think. Okay. Done with that. Okay. Move all stories. Let's see if it's in my stories. Okay. So it's in my stories, and that's a lot. And what I did with this is you have a QR code, so it saves your voice. The main thing I like to grow in the garden ever since I lived. So that's going to be, and it has a QR code. So as technology evolves, from cassettes to CDs to MP3s to now QR codes and that stuff to be able to pick it up on the database, it'll be able to save forever, right? And as it evolves, you can just take that database one and probably switch to another one unless it crashes or the world goes to shit. But what's great is I don't have any names in here. I'm not going to sit and read it for right now, but you can do a quick edit. Boom. Oh, no, I don't want a quick edit. I want to auto format it. So it's formatting it, then it uses GPT to put it all into paragraph form, which is amazing, because then it's your whole thoughts, your process, and doing that type of stuff. So, and then it puts periods where it's supposed to be and stuff like that. So then you can read it and go from there. But what do you do then is you verify it. So it's verified, and that will actually put it into a book. With time, day, all that type of stuff. So it looks at the time recorded and all that jazz, which is pretty cool because that's what I'm trying to develop is like your own legacy type book. Let's do another one because that was fun and it's way easier. It's like I'm being interviewed then instead of me just rambling. What did you like to grow in your garden? I just did that one. I'm sorry. Just did that one. Different question. Where was your favorite place in nature? Favorite place in nature? That is one that's very interesting because my favorite place in nature was looking off to the east on the farm in the barnyard, surrounded by getting the cows in the barn, nothing but some cow pies on the concrete slab, taking a breath of that crisp morning air, looking at that sunrise. That is probably some of my best and most favorite memories of just seeing that and taking the time and appreciating the work that you do. I'm not a big hiker. I loved playing in the bluffs and stuff growing up in the middle of Wisconsin, running the paths and doing all that fun stuff, but not a big nature person per se. But just those special memories of growing up and doing that and taking the time for that. And that's what I try to take the time to do that with the kids. A, they're not up early, but B, at night and stuff like that. And I can't wait till they get a little older so we can just sit and look up at the stars. I think that's something that as we get more and more technological in the world, we need to stop, take a fresh breath, and look up at the stars and know that, holy cow, there's got to be something more out there. So that's pretty much that story. I don't know what the heck I was talking about. So we're going to save that memory, and it's going to store it into this book and this app I'm developing. I think it's going to be awesome. Auto format. And we'll get more into that. If this is my only podcast, we won't get more into that. If it is, it'll be what did I say? If this is my only podcast, I won't get into it, but I want to do more of these. If just sit and ramble, maybe people want to listen, and then we can continue from there. So as for today, the biggest wrap up I think is finding your why, finding your passion, and then turning that passion into discipline, and then going from there, because it becomes part of your identity, right? But you don't want to get caught up in an identity, I guess is what I'm saying. I don't know, because I don't want to be just the workout guy, right? I don't want to be um, the library nerd or the coder, or I like doing everything. So um, I would love to hear your comments. I would love to hear what you guys think, what I want to talk about, because I really don't know what to talk about. I came with zero preparation. I just listened to a Mike Rowe podcast because he had Vice President JD Vance on there, and he said, yeah, doing an interview is way easier because you have to prepare so much for the self interview and things like that. And that's exactly true. I didn't have anything prepared, and I don't really know what to talk about. So today was about discipline. Get your ass up out of bed. Uh, do something passion. Find your why, and keep on rolling. Until next time, that's all I got.